Up next on News 5 Nightside, honoring our nation's veterans, new guidelines for handling child sexual abuse, and New York soon to be collecting some taxes on Indian reservations. Those stories and much more straight ahead on News 5 Nightside. Tonight on News 5 Nightside, recognizing women veterans, a replacement for a longtime Catholic bishop in northern New York, and first wildfires, now mudslides in California.
Live from WPTZ, Erin Clark and the Channel 5 News team. This is News 5 Nightside.
Good evening. All the men and women who served this country in the military were honored today in ceremonies across the country and across the region. In an emotional ceremony in Washington, a Vietnam Women's Memorial was dedicated today. And tonight, a candlelight vigil at the first memorial in Washington honoring women in the U.S. military.
They feel happy that we really worked on this hard to make the veterans reappear in people's lives.
And here at home, Boy Scout Troop 538 finished a project started last summer. The Scouts cleaned up this cemetery, sacred ground that holds the remains of soldiers from several wars. Today, the Scouts proudly gave it back to veterans. And at ceremonies in Saranac, New York, onlookers were encouraged to get involved. News 5 photographer Tim Dunn put together this sampling.
Forward, march! It was the 11th day of the 11th month. It was the 11th hour of that day. It was in Versailles, France, on that day in 1918 that the armistice ending World War I was signed.
The American Revolution, the War of 1812. The men and women who served our country are entitled to no less grateful remembrance than those who fought at Bunker Hill and Valley Forge.
So I go back to William Sherman, who was a general in the Civil War, and one of his famous quotes in the Civil War was, "War is all hell, but out of war too comes blessings." Because if it wasn't for this man, Peter McRandall, volunteering to go, again, like I said, I wouldn't be here.
About us in the cemetery are numerous gravestones that need no storied monuments to clothe them with a peculiar consecration. Graves that hold the dust of heroes.
Fire!
Two.
Officials at the St. Francis Academy in Lake Placid for troubled teens admit they don't know what went wrong. A teenager described as one of their most promising students is facing murder charges tonight. News 5's Tim Dodd has more.
St. Francis Academy helps kids with emotional and psychological disorders like Talib Mustafa Shakir. Some patients have extremely violent histories, but their records are sealed under federal law because they're juveniles. Despite the violent nature of some students, 70% of patients that complete the program make it back to the mainstream.
The boy is acting strangely, is not psychotic, but needs to be in a program, 24-hour-a-day supervised program with therapy.
There are no bars on the windows here, and the only fence is around the tennis court. The emphasis is on rehabilitation, not incarceration, and Shakir seemed to be doing well. That was until October 25th. While AWOL from the academy, Shakir admits he fired the gun that killed a Korean foreign exchange student in Washington, D.C.
There was nothing indicate here of any problems.
In fact, school superintendent Jerry Blair says Shakir was a fine student. He was even on the honor roll.
Did very well with us, participated in extracurricular activities, partook with our students to ski at Whiteface Mountain, So everything indicated that he was taking advantage of the opportunities that were available to him through his school and through Camelot.
If either the teachers or our therapists feel that a kid is going to act out, we're not going to let him go into the mainstream.
Shakir will be in Washington Friday facing murder charges. Tim Dodd, News 5, Elizabethtown.
And a state police source confirms that Shakir was convicted of another murder in 1991, and that is why he was originally sent to St. Francis. A meeting has been scheduled for Monday night in Lake Placid. Lake Placid school board members and St. Francis staff will be on hand to answer any questions from concerned citizens. The number of child sexual abuse cases is rising in New York and Vermont. Now, law enforcement agencies in Vermont are getting new instruction on how to build and prosecute such cases more effectively. News 5's Matt Fear reports.
You've seen the faces and heard the names, like Norman Powers, charged and convicted of sexually abusing children, or Robert Lawton, found guilty of sexually abusing 3 boys, in the sort of case that poses tremendous challenges for prosecutors.
I think those are the most difficult cases prosecutors face. They're difficult not only because the defendant starts with a presumption of innocence, of course, but they're difficult because juries usually start with the presumption that the crime is unthinkable.
Now, Amestoy's office is offering a guide for law enforcement, the Vermont Prosecution Manual on Child Abuse, nearly 300 pages of detailed instruction on building cases. The state is apparently getting better at it. Amestoy says his office had only 1 conviction in a child sex abuse case before 1985. Now that number is up to 50. But critics have charged the increase has followed a national trend of false allegations leveled by spouses and even the children themselves. Well, here in Stowe this week, a panel of experts is quick to refute that notion.
In short, there are a number of violent and even sadistic offenders of children who often prey on their own children.
Salter told more than 100 prosecutors and investigators at this conference that children can be credible witnesses, but they're also bound to be the first to come under attack from defense attorneys. Matt Fearer, News 5, Stowe.
A coalition of lobbying groups says Vermont's healthcare reform efforts are leaving people behind. The coalition, called Vermonters for Health Access, doesn't like the healthcare authorities' plan to exclude Medicaid recipients for now. They say by doing that, not everyone will have the same access to health care. What's more, they say, with all sides angling to get a piece of the action, the whole plan could collapse under the weight of politics. The legislature will consider reform plans next year. Pope John Paul II has appointed the Reverend Paul Lovard of Hartford, Connecticut, to oversee the Diocese of Ogdensburg, which represents all of northern New York. Stanislaw Brizana is retiring after 25 years as bishop. He's 76 years old. Installation ceremonies for Lovard will be held in January. Time now to get our first look at tonight's weather with meteorologist Tom Messner.
2 minutes ago, stuck my head out the door, and we've got some very light rain coming down. Maybe you're finding the same thing where you are, because the light rain is pretty much all over the place. But I do want to stress, this stuff will remain light. I want to show you something. Jet stream right here. We've got a big trough in the jet stream. To the west, this will affect our weather later in the weekend, of course. We'll tell you about that and give you your 5-day outlook in just a couple of minutes. Please stick around.
Thanks, Tom. Still ahead on News 5 Nightside, the dangers of carbon monoxide. If you're a homeowner, you'll want to hear this report. Also, a preview of the Vermont State Football Championship. We'll be back. As the temperatures drop, no surprise here, people start firing up their furnaces. But here's something you may not know. It can be a dangerous time. Just last month in Cabot, Vermont, a family was devastated when a child died because of carbon monoxide leaking from their furnace. And overnight, another tragedy in Connecticut. In the first of a 2-part series, News 5's Andy Wormser tells us how you can protect your family from this deadly gas.
At the Delude house, the kids were having a sleepover. 3 of them never woke up. Authorities suspect the heating system malfunctioned and sent carbon monoxide through the house. 3 victims of a deadly gas that claims 300 lives a year. In Cabot, Vermont this fall, carbon monoxide killed a mother and daughter in their home. A furnace pipe broke, sending the gas inside instead of out.
Squirrels are my worst enemy.
They go down the chimneys, they build nests, they plug the chimney.
And that can cause carbon monoxide to fill up the house. It's John Gilmore's job to make sure that doesn't happen. He fixes furnaces. Experts recommend that you have it checked along with the chimney every year by a professional.
And we want to be able to get into the cellars, check the equipment before something goes wrong. The venting is probably the first thing that I look at. Make sure that the venting is up to code, that there's plenty of air.
If not, the furnace won't burn correctly and will produce carbon monoxide. Gilmore says most of the time the furnace simply shuts down and the homeowner calls his office because the house is cold. But it can keep running and poison the home. Today's more airtight, energy-efficient homes are more susceptible to the problem. Fewer drafts mean the gas has no way to get out. You can't see or smell carbon monoxide, but carbon monoxide poisoning has some very common symptoms: dizziness, headaches, nausea. You might think you have the flu. If you do think you have carbon monoxide poisoning, get out of the house, see a doctor, and get your furnace checked.
I have never been concerned with carbon monoxide poisoning. I have to be honest with you, I never have.
And Don Drews is hoping he'll never have to. His furnace is okay this year, checked as part of a service plan arranged with his gas company. A bit of prevention that may keep his family alive. Andy Wormser, News 5, South Burlington.
First the fires, now the mud in Southern California. Some people are asking, what's next? Today, some residents in one Laguna Beach neighborhood say they were just starting to clean up when it came. Mud, and lots of it. NBC's Vikki Vargas gives us a look at their ongoing struggle against the elements.
Looking at it now, can you believe you got out?
No. No. When you're standing there and you've got water rushing around you and coming in and you don't know when it's going to stop, you don't think, well, you just act.
Neighbors say it sounded like an airplane, a thunderous wake-up call that landed on Browncroft Street around 4 in the morning. That's when a 5-foot-high river of muddy water came smashing through the front door of this apartment, destroying everything in its path. The family says it all happened so fast, they barely had time to get out. In fact, Marcia said she ran to get her son, take him out of the crib, and had to hold him over her head as she ran out the door.
He's only 1.5 years. He was crying. He was, obviously upset.
This neighborhood had just settled in after the devastating Laguna fire. They were evacuated then, but survived. Just when they thought it was safe, Mother Nature struck again. This time, everything that wasn't bolted down among the fire ruins came tumbling into their front yards.
And I looked out the window and saw a car floating down the street. At that point in time, I knew we were in trouble. I got my husband up, and it was like we were trapped, though. There was nothing we can do.
So here you made it through the fire, and now this, right?
Now what's next, huh?
More rain tonight?
So once again, Laguna Beach residents are digging themselves out from another disaster and asking when all of this will end. Vikki Vargas, NBC News, Laguna Beach, California.
Call it the case of the stolen rooster. The fire chief in Wayne, Maine, says he spotted a weather vane stolen 20 years ago from atop the station. He says he found it at the Shelburne Museum. But the museum says it's owned this weather vane since the 1950s and isn't about to give it up.
It's not our responsibility to take a piece that's been in the collection for nearly 50 years and hand it over to the first person who says, we once had one like that.
In fact, the museum points to a 1950 story out of Life magazine that features the bird. Beal says this weather vane is one of hundreds that was produced. And we will be back with your full weather forecast in just a moment.
Tonight's weather is brought to you by your local North Country GMC truck dealer. Put your trust in GMC's strength of experience.
An awful lot of people are talking about this storm out west. It's actually snowing out west and coming our way, but...
In addition to rain with the mudslides, too. So they've got some real problems going on. I know, the big question is it coming our way? Is that this?
I think people want to know, is it going to snow? I think they'll handle rain. It's snow that they're...
That thing is coming our way, and we are going to get some stuff falling out of the sky. We'll tell you what it is in just a minute.
That's called a tease.
That's mean, isn't it? That is so mean. It's going to be rain, I'll tell you now. 47 Burlington, 46 in Plattsburgh. It has been very seasonable lately. When it's seasonable this time of year, you might catch a couple of snowflakes at night. In the day, when something comes out of the sky, it's going to be rain. That's going to be the case as we head towards your weekend, and that is when that storm system is going to get here. That's probably all you needed to know, isn't it? You can see the temperatures around our region with a little light rain coming down right now. This stuff is really light. I had to do kind of a double take to make sure it was actually falling in the driveway, but it is with the light rain. 42 right now in Malone. Newport, 39 degrees at last check. They weren't seeing too much going on there yet, but I do want to stress yet. Temperature's not half bad. All right, here's what's going on. Jet stream doing pretty much what it's supposed to do in the east. In the west, it is a different story. We have got an upper level low pressure system. This thing's spinning around. It's putting a big old kink in the jet here. That is a trough. When you have a trough, it allows the cold air in, and things are going nuts out there. They have winter storm watches and warnings in effect for all 4 of the 4 corner states, also into Wyoming. In fact, portions of Colorado, they are expecting up to a foot, maybe a foot and a half of snow over the next 24 hours or so. So they are going to be digging and probably doing some skiing too. Now, I do want to show you what the satellite picture is all about in the Northeast. Very easy to see what's going on with us. It's cloudy. As you might imagine, that's going to be the case when we've got a little rain coming down. Here's what I'm thinking for tomorrow. Maybe some clouds. I think some clouds early on tomorrow with maybe some showers. And then I think we're going to make way for a little bit of sunshine. Thing is, the weekend comes in right after tomorrow, as you know. Well, if we come on back to the west, here's where the big storm is right now. You can see why there's a lot of precipitation happening in the 4 corner states and into Wyoming. This will continue to come our way. So this is really nothing compared to what is going to be happening to us over the next couple of days. I mean, it's not going to be awful as far as snowfall. In fact, I don't think we're going to find any snow, with the exception of maybe a few flurries overnight. But it's going to be rain, and it's going to be a wet weekend. Now, by tomorrow afternoon, here's where the storm is centered, heading toward the Plain States. Will continue to come our way. As I say, tomorrow, not a bad day, starting out cloudier than it will end up with high pressure trying to edge in. Don't get used to it. The weekend, we've seen better ones. We've got your 5-day outlook coming up next. Tonight, cloudy, chance for some showers here and there. Low temperatures 35 to 40. Some of us may not get out of the 40s. All right, tomorrow, clouds, showers giving way to increasing sunshine. It'll be an okay day. It's going to be cool, 40 to 45 degrees. Savor that sun if you can. Mainly clear. Hey, it's going to be cold tomorrow night. Lows in the 20s. Saturday, clouds thickening throughout the day. Chance for some afternoon showers. It will become very windy by late on Saturday, 40 to 45 degrees. And the rest of your 5-day Sunday, I'm sorry, we're not saving much of your weekend here. It's going to be very wet. Come Monday, well, 52 degrees, and it's still going to be wet. And Tuesday, by then, we're beginning to clear things out a little bit. But this weekend just isn't looking great. I should have raked those leaves.
Well, take Bob Solarski's advice. He says they're easier to rake when they're wet.
They're too heavy and messy.
That's true. Just let the wind blow them away.
I've tried. It's not working.
Thanks a lot. We'll be back with more news and sports in a moment. Well, it was fairly quiet today at the Champlain border crossing, a nationwide independent truckers strike apparently not affecting our area. Some local truckers say they just can't afford to stop working. Others say the strike isn't sending the right message.
Because we believe that there's going to be a lot of people hurt. There's people that are not involved in the transport industry are just going to cause chaos just for the sake of causing chaos. And we don't believe that this is the right way of negotiating with the government.
Truckers had threatened to strike this week to protest rising fuel prices. Montpelier officials today approved a 7-year tax break for the Chittenden Bank. The deal will help the bank put up a new building in downtown Montpelier. The Montpelier city attorney still has to approve the deal. The state of New York won another round in the ongoing legal battle over taxes on Indian reservations. A state appeals court ruled that merchants on reservations could be required to collect state taxes on cigarettes and gasoline sold to non-Indians. Indian lawyers say they will appeal. Well, there may be a new place to play near our nation's capital soon. The Walt Disney Company today announced plans for a new theme park in Prince William County, Virginia. This piece of land is where Disney wants to build its newest and smallest amusement park, Disney America. The theme of the park, U.S. history. It's the company's attempt to make a profit off the huge Washington, D.C. tourist market, but it is not a done deal yet. Disney has months of negotiations ahead with state officials. Harnessing the power of the sun, a solar-powered car set a world record for solar speed. Despite a flat tire and strong winds, this car, nicknamed Dream, traveled 1,800 miles across Australia in about 35 hours. Honda built the winning car that looked more like a futuristic space vehicle than your standard automobile. Dream averaged 53 miles an hour. Wall Street took a slight downturn today. Stocks closed down 1 point in heavy trading.
Sports Tonight is brought to you by your local Lincoln Mercury dealer.
And we are going to start things off talking a little hockey tonight.
Yes, and news about Mario Lemieux. Some kind of interesting stuff here. Reports out of Pittsburgh indicating that four-time NHL scoring champion Mario Lemieux will sit out until January. Super Mario, you remember, had surgery on his ailing back over the summer, and it's not yet fully recovered, so the Penguins aren't going to take any chances. And the bottom line here is, well, they want Mario ready when the playoffs come around. Penguins tonight in Chicago, and without Mario, they're in big trouble. Look at this stuff right here by the Chicago Blackhawks. Bing, early goal right here. Blackhawks all over the Penguins tonight. Jeremy Roenick in close here. Big-time defensive breakdown, and right now it is 4-1 in the third. Chicago leading Pittsburgh. At the Spectrum for the Flyers and Devils, Philly star Eric Lindros hurt in this game. He'll be lost for 3 to 6 weeks with ligament damage in his knee. He's got 15 goals on the year. Flyers down 3-1, trying to come back. Baranek with the goal. 3-2. Jersey hanging to a 1-goal lead. Flyers tied at 3, and then Tom Chorsky with the goal that trickles into the net. That was the winner. Devils take it by a 5-3 final score. New Jersey and Philadelphia now tied atop the Atlantic Division. Chicago, as we told you, leading Pittsburgh 4-1 in the third period. Also, from the NHL, Washington over Tampa Bay 4-1. St. Louis leads Toronto 3-1 in the third. Florida beat Ottawa 5-4. And Dallas leads San Jose 4-0. That one in the third period as well. Earlier in the day, the Bruins and Oilers playing a matinee at the Gut. In second period, Edmonton with the turnover. Steve Hines with the shorthanded goal. Bruins up 2-0. Adam Oates, is he offsides? You bet he is, but no call at the Garden tonight, and Neely, well, turns it into a goal. Bruins take it by a 5-1 final. In college hockey this weekend, UVM opens the ECAC schedule with home games against Colgate and Cornell.
The lower teams in our league are more capable than ever to being able to knock off the top teams, and I see Cornell and Colgate as two teams that aren't going to be in the lower part of the league.
And in Division III, Plattsburgh State opens the SUNYAC schedule with home games against Brockport and Fredonia. The Cards are coming off a weekend sweep of Concordia and River Falls.
Fredonia's been in here 3 years, and regular season we're yet to beat them here in this barn. You know, I don't know what it is, but they're pretty successful here. A lot of the guys have been talking about it all week, and we're getting up, and we're going to come out flying, and hopefully we'll break that little streak they got going here.
Highlights of UVM and Plattsburgh State this weekend. To the links now for the shot of the day from the World Cup of Golf. Fred Couples on the 9th hole, his second shot on this 532-yard par 5 monster using a 2-iron, and he's got to be the most accurate guy with the 2-iron in the world. Fred Couples hit it low, he got a great roll, and this baby rolls right into the cup for double eagle. Fred Couples is atop the leaderboard. Time now for a short break. Back right after this with the rest of tonight's sports. On to high school football, where there's a couple of really big games in our region this weekend, including tomorrow night's Vermont Division I title tilt between Essex and Middlebury. Here's George Comeau.
Friday night, October 22nd. Tied 14-14 at the half, the Middlebury Tigers scored 21 unanswered second-half points to blow away the Essex Hornets 35-14. Fullback Stacy Burnham burning the Essex defense for 243 rushing yards. Now, as the same two teams prepare for a Friday night rematch with the State Division I championship on the line, that game 3 weeks ago remains fresh in the memories of both sides.
We just wore them down. We pounded them play after play. We just try to wear them down as much as possible.
Stacy Burnham, I mean, he's just an incredible force to try to bring down. And basically, we're going to try to attack him.
I'm sure that one of the things they have to do is to stop Stacy. The other trick to that, of course, is if you don't want to patch one hole and open up other leaks.
As defending champion, Essex may have a slight advantage in experience, but neither side sees that as a big factor.
Yeah, I'd say the experience is an advantage, and, you know, they're a great football team. We're going to have to come out with everything we have. But, I mean, I think that we have decent leadership on our team.
I'm George Comeau, News 5 Sports.
And in the New York State football tournament this weekend, Saranac Lake plays Cambridge Saturday afternoon at Shenendehowa, and unbeaten Peru faces Glens Falls Sunday at Bailey Avenue Field.
You know, I think the problems they pose for us are the problems they pose for everybody. Is their size is going to be something that we're going to have to overcome. They're big and strong up front, and on the offensive front, that's going to be a big hurdle that we're going to have to overcome.
Of course, we'll have highlights of all of those big games this weekend. In the NBA tonight, Charlotte romped Orlando 120-87. That really the only significant game on the schedule.
All right, thank you very much. We'll be back with our final story in just a moment. And finally tonight, another look at Veterans Day, this time at 7,400 feet of patriotism. In Gastonia, North Carolina today, veterans hoisted what is believed to be the largest flag ever flown. The flag is so big it had to be lifted by a crane. Amazing.
Wow.
I know. Big flag.
Wow.
Updates.
All right, here's what's going on. A few showers around tonight. I'm thinking by tomorrow afternoon, a little bit of sunshine, and the weekend looks wet.
So I guess we enjoy tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, late in the afternoon, too.
All right, thanks, Tom. How about in sports?
In the NBA, Miami over Milwaukee 116-103, and the Nets fall to the Pacers 108-105.
All right, thank you very much. That'll do it for us. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see all of you then. Good night.
If you see news happening anywhere in our region, call the News 5 line.